some Pokemon.
You just do the singing. I'll take care of the hard part.
Let's get it on. I want to be the best that ever was. To beat all the rest. Yeah, that's my cause.
Electro, Diglett, Nidoran, Mankey, Venusaur, Rattata, Fearow, Pidgey, Seaking, Jolteon, Dragonite, Ghastly, Ponyta, Vaporeon, Poliwrath, Butterfree.
Catch 'em, gotta catch 'em all. Poké.
Hey guys, just enjoying some tea in my nice cool little Pokemon cup I got in Tokyo. Oh, and what's that? What's that behind there? Well, Japan is famous for all sorts of different snacks that are usually individually wrapped and essentially killing all of the ocean life, but well, that's another topic. But yeah, so these are Alfort little cracker chocolate cookie snacks. They're actually really goddamn delicious, but they'll probably get you fat too. Yeah, this is milk tea flavor, so I'm having milk tea crackers with my milk tea. Oh boy. Quite small, but they're goddamn delicious. Okay guys, so now that you've built your deck, I'm just going to give you a rundown of like the different types of cards that are in the Pokemon trading card game. And I didn't realize how many different types that are in the current rotation that you can use in a deck actually are. So it's quite a few number of them, so let's kind of run through them then. So the first we're going to have is your basic Pokemon. So this is your first stage basic Pokemon, and we'll use a Charmander that I pulled from last video. So from the top left corner, in the top left corner here, in English it would read basic, say basic Pokemon. In Japanese it's read as Tane. So yes, this is your Charmander here. The right of the card, obviously you'll see that it is a fire type, as indicated by the emblem, the fire emblem there, and it has 70 HP. Usually these basic Pokemon, first stage Pokemon, will have 1 or 2 attacks. Sometimes they'll even have abilities, but this one is just your run-of-the-mill Charmander that you can start getting off some early damage. So now we have the actual attack. So the emblem that my thumb is currently to the left of means how many energy that's required to use that attack. So for this Charmander to use its I guess Ember attack, you just need 1 fire energy. So you attach it, and then you're off to the races. You have the bottom left down here. Maybe I'll bring this closer, see if I can focus it. This video is gonna have a lot of focusing issues just because I'm kind of doing this by myself, no help. And like I said before, I was idiot for not bringing my tripod from Canada. But you have where my thumb is now, that is Charmander's weakness. Obviously water. So if a water Pokemon's up against Charmander, for example, if its basic attack damage is 30, it will do instead 60. Okay, so then the next area here that's blank is resistance. So other Pokemon will have resistance. This Charmander does not, but let's look at my beautiful tag team, full art, Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres. Okay, so this one will have, if the shine can happily fuck off, a resistance of -20 to fighting. So if a fighting Pokemon goes up against it, then if the base damage for that fighting attack is, let's say, 60, it'll do 40 damage instead. Okay, going back to Charmander. And the last is that you have its retreat cost. So how many energy you need to discard in order to withdraw Charmander and switch it out for another Pokemon. Okay, so next, let's look at a Stage 1 Pokemon. There you go. This is... Oops, let's zoom out a bit. Yeah. Okay, so you have your run-of-the-mill Charmeleon here. So it says Stage 1, as indicated by the emblem at the top there, and you see a little Charmander emblem under the Stage 1. So you've noticed that because it's evolved, it's become more powerful, and you need 2 fire energy in order to use its attack. Weakness stays the same, resistance stays the same, but the retreat cost has indeed went up. Because it is an evolved Pokemon, it depends on, I guess, the Pokemon's weight, what it looks like, and basically how powerful it is. Generally, if you're going to have a really bulky, beefy, and powerful Pokemon, its retreat costs will generally be 4. This Charmeleon, because it is just an evolved form, basic, it'll just give it a 2 instead of a 1. Right? That's the only difference between that and the Charmander. Let's look at a Stage 2, and in this case we'll pull out this Charizard GX, because for some reason in this trading card game I cannot pull any Pikachus, nor can I pull Charizards. It's like I'm cursed. I'm absolutely cursed. So this one, it's not holographic, as you can see. I got it out of a pre-made deck because I needed fire energies I needed energies in general to start building decks here in Japan, and this is like the little package it came out of. Cool little packages, and they give you some pretty good cards as well, and useful cards to use. So okay, here we go. So you have your Stage 2 evolution, indicated by the top left there. It says 2, and let's zoom in a little bit more. So GX, 250 HP, obviously still fire type. Now, let's discuss the topic of colorless energies. So, you'll see many cards that have these kind of like little star energies, star energy symbols, and these are called colorless energies. So, essentially, you can attach any basic energy, whether it be grass, water, fire, electric, psychic, dark, etc. onto that. For example, I can attach 3 water energy to this Charizard and can use its first attack. So you can use any type of energy. So when you're doing dual type decks, for example, if this were, let's say, a water fire themed deck, I can use a combination of fire and water energies to have Charizard use its attack. Okay. And generally they'll come in the form of just regular holos, but also for GXs that aren't tag team, generally you're gonna have them be evolution cards. And then you have the retreat cost. Because this isn't a super uber powerful card, it's kind of like a basic run-of-the-mill kind of GX Charizard. It's not a super strong card, but at the same time, the damage output lets it sit at a easy to retreat 2 retreat cost card. So that's what it is. So get rid of 2 fire energies or any 2 energies, and you can switch it out for another Pokemon. Okay, so now let's focus on energies. Basically the stamina and power that you need to attach to your Pokemon in order to have them attack. So this is your basic fire energy. It represents 1 energy, 1 single fire type energy that can be attached to primarily fire type Pokemon, or generally any Pokemon that has colorless energy requirements. Next, you'll have special energies, and I have 2 here just because there are more than 1 type of special energy, but I'll go with the basic one. This is your double colorless energy, and this has been around, I believe, since the base set. So this allows you to attach any... you can attach 2 colorless energy to a Pokemon. For example, let's look at that Charizard again. Okay, so we have this Charizard here. right? You see its second attack there has 3 fire energy and 2 colorless energy requirements. So essentially I can have, let's say theoretically, I have 3 fire energy attached to this Charizard already. On my next turn, if I have this card in my hand, I can attach that to Charizard, thus completing the requirements for it to attack. So it covers 2 colorless energy. But you cannot substitute this for type energy. For example, if I had, let's say I had, if this was, let's say, a dual type deck, and let's say those two colorless energies were already filled out by, let's say, water energy. You cannot use this card to add fire energy to Charizard. In other words, you can't magically transform this card to have it be fire energy. It is colorless, it is white, it represents itself. Okay, next we have special energy, like this counter energy. Once again, it's kind of like the double colorless, but the difference is that it has an explanation underneath. So you'll find energies like this within the trading card game, and you'll really have to read up on them carefully, or else you can misuse them and it could cost you the game. So this counter energy looks like the double colorless, but it's a lot different. So what this counter energy does is that it allows you to attach you can attach 2 energy to your Pokemon of any type. Okay, so it says specifically of any type to your Pokemon if your opponent has less prize cards remaining. So 2 energy. So if you need it to, for example, if you for example for this Charizard, if you're kind of running low on your fire energies, let's say you have your opponent's winning. Let's say you have 1 fire energy attached and a double colorless, or let's say you have 3 fire energies attached and you need 2 more, and you need to get out and attack quickly. This card would be able to fill those requirements. So unlike your standard run-of-the-mill double colorless here, this one actually specifically says that you can have it be any type that you need it to be. But the catch is, once you are level with your opponent, or you start winning, then this card goes down to it being a single energy, and I believe it stays. It'll then turn into a single colorless. I'd have to read it again, but once you're level with your opponent or you're winning, this turns into only 1 energy. So it can only be used, or it can only be used effectively when you are in a losing situation. So those are your kind of basic, your rundowns of like kind of the basic energies that you need to use throughout the game. Like any other card, you got to really read up on your energies and requirements and how you can work them effectively into your deck. Okay, now, so let's move on to trainers. The trainers are basically the potatoes of your deck. Like, they really, or should I say the meat? The Pokemon would be, I can't remember my own fucking analogy, but at the same time, trainers are very important. Currently, from what I think I have in my possession, I have 5 types here. Okay, so 5 types of trainer cards. I'll do them individually because I can't fucking hover 5 of them over the way I'm shooting this. You'll have your Prism trainer here. You can also have Prism Pokemon if you draw them. This is your basic goods. Okay? Or in English, I think it just means item. Trainer, and it's an item card. Yeah, so it'll be an item card in English. In Japanese, it says goods. This is also a goods card or an item card, but it's also a Pokemon tool or a Pokemon item in Japanese. So this can be directly attached to your Pokemon. Next, you have your support card. So here's a Gladian. These can only be played once a turn, but they are powerful cards that really help turn the tide of battle. And last but not least, you have your stadium cards. Another stadium card that I don't have in my possession are I think they're are they called reversibles? I can't remember, but you can, there's two sides, not two sides, you can either turn them right side up or upside down, and they have different effects depending. I have, I think, one card in Canada. I don't have any here, but this is your basic run-of-the-mill stadium card. They add effects to the playing field as if you were battling in a real area per se. So let's do a rundown of all the different cards I have in more depth. So this is your Prism card. So this is your Prism Trainer. So the rule about Prism cards is that you can't have more than one of the same Prism card in your deck. So it's illegal for me to have 2 Lucamines in my deck. I can only have one. After it's used, it does not go to the discard pile. It goes to the Lost Zone. So the Lost Zone, I think, was first featured, I believe, maybe in Gen 2 or Gen 3 of the trading card game, and has since then now returned. Unless there are specific cards to get cards out of the Lost Zone, once you use this, it's gone for the rest of the game. That's it. This includes Prism Pokemon as well, which I don't have in my possession. So I think there's, out of some of the more recent sets, you have Volcanion and a bunch of other Prism cards. Once they're defeated or once they're used, they go to the Lost Zone. You cannot retrieve them. Next, you just have your run-of-the-mill item card. So this will also kind of give you boons. And the good thing about this is that whereas for supporter cards, I'll get to that later actually, but you can use as many items per turn as you have in your hand. So let's say you have 7 cards in your hand, 6 of those cards are item cards like this. You can use every single one of them at once if you'd like. And a lot of these times, these item cards will give you, for example, you'd be able to search through your deck, find your energies, or find different cards that you need, and put them onto your bench or back into your hand, etc. You can even use these cards, depending on what kind of card it is, to take cards from your discard pile, put them back into your deck or your hand. In this case, this one, you have to trash 2 fire energies in order to use it, and then not 2 energies. You have to trash 2 cards in order to use it, and then you can look through your deck to find 4 energies, show them to your opponent, and put them into your hand. Yeah, so this is this one. Okay, next we have, let's do your basic trainer card. You can only use one of these a turn, unless you have Lieutenant Surge. Oh, I have him somewhere, he's in another deck. But Lieutenant Surge is a recent card in which it lets you use more than one support card a turn. So there's cards like that exist, but not many of them. But generally, rule of thumb is you can only use one of these per turn. Next we have Pokemon tools, or items here. You have goods and items. Anyways, Pokemon tools. So these are, you can attach them, like I said before, you can attach them directly to your Pokemon, and they usually will give your Pokemon added effects, like in the game when you attach an item to your Pokemon. For example, in the game, if you attach a charcoal, for example, to your Charizard, it'll slightly boost the power of fire attacks. Similar in the card game, you have a whole bunch of items that will give you a bunch of boons to your Pokemon. For example, this one in particular will lessen the retreat cost of your Pokemon by 1. For example, let's pull out this Charizard again. For example, it has 2 retreat cost. If the U-turn board is attached to this Charizard, then it only costs 1 to retreat. The next effect for this card specifically is that when it would actually go to the trash pile or the discard pile, actually it returns to your hand and you can attach it to another Pokemon. So it's a really cool card. But a lot of these item cards will, or Pokemon tools will help your Pokemon. For example, I have cards that increase HP, negate weakness, etc., etc. Really cool and handy cards. And the last being a stadium card. So I believe these are introduced in the Gen 2 era, the Neo series. I have Bellsprout Tower at home in English. I think first edition too. Not that it's worth anything, but so basically these stadium cards will add an effect to both players. It adds an effect to the whole playing field. For example, this Blizzard Town card, on both sides, when your Pokemon reaches 40 HP or less, it cannot attack. So you can play this card, but if you're not wary of how to use it properly, you can end up screwing yourself really hard. So you have to play stadium cards at strategic times. The rule for stadium cards is that if your opponent plays a stadium card during their turn and there's already one in play, it replaces that stadium card. So also keep that in mind.